It's about 48 hours after the Super Bowl, and we are smack dab in the middle of another culture war. The left is fighting for Bad Bunny, and the right is fighting for TPUSA. Two warring halftime shows. And I can't help but think there's something else obviously happening here. And interestingly, Candace Owens just pointed it out. All right, so this has been really interesting to watch. I've been on social media, Instagram and X, and everyone is fighting with each other over this. And honestly, the performances in and of themselves don't even matter that much. There's actually a much bigger thing happening here. But in order to see that thing, it's almost like we have to zoom out and view the whole thing from above. Now, as I've been watching people going back and forth with this culture war, some people complaining that Bad Bunny sings in Spanish, other people saying things about Kid Rock. So let's elevate a little bit out of that. And let's look at what else might be happening. Now let's listen to what Candace Owens has to say, and listen carefully, because the thing that I'm referring to, she actually just says in passing.
I grew up listening to all of it. So when Bad Bunny was announced for the Super Bowl, I was like, okay, let's see what he does. I do not know one Bad Bunny song. I'm going to be honest. I've been very clear with you guys. I am not cool or hip anymore, just like I don't know any of Sabrina Carpenter's music. I'm not trying to stay up with the culture, but I know enough to know that he's very popular. Okay. Now, the pros of his performance, I'm going to say something good about it. I actually thought the set design was really cool. It was one of the cooler ones that I've seen in a very long time. I loved that it looked like a little pueblo, a little Spanish town, that the mercado, the bodega. And to be clear, I think it felt obviously very authentic to him and how he grew up, but not just to him and how he grew up, but also in America. If you guys don't know that, this is how a lot, that looks familiar to me and the way that I grew up. Like, you know, the corner bodega, it's a real thing. And I thought very obviously that's what he was trying to convey, is his own experience, because that's what artists do. And by the way, like I said, all around the United States, these communities exist. The performers and the dancers did a very great job. You could tell that they rehearsed a lot. They were not just winging it. And I actually quite enjoyed the little electrical line thing that they were doing. I thought it was clever and it was fun. Now, the downside is that it was not in English. It was not in English. And therefore, the audience could not emotionally connect. If you were not a Spanish speaker, you could not emotionally connect to that performance. It was really all in Spanish, save for Lady Gaga's portion when she was sort of doing the bad salsa, which was very American. You know, she wasn't exactly hips don't lie. And I was like, okay, now, is that Bad Bunny's fault? Obviously not, because he was booked. And he is very clear. English is his second language. If you watch his interviews, he kind of speaks Spanglish. He's learning more English now. His music is exclusively in Spanish. So the expectation, who are you actually upset with for booking this performance? I agree that it would be nice to have an English-speaking halftime. That makes sense, because everyone actually in America should speak English. But he didn't book himself, okay? Actually, I looked into it. The person that controls who gets to perform at the halftime is Jay-Z. For some reason, Jay-Z in partnership with the NFL. Jay-Z doesn't speak Spanish, but Jay-Z booked him. And for a very long time, it's been clear that Jay-Z's got some sort of a relationship with the feds. I tend to believe a lot of the stuff that Kanye said. And so, like I said, this feels a bit like, let's get both sides warring with one another.
All right, so did you catch that? Candace Owens points out the fact that Jay-Z had something to do with the booking. And then she also speculates that Jay-Z is connected with the feds. I'm not going to speculate on that. But what I will say is she made a really good point. She said, in her own words, this feels a bit like, let's get both sides warring with one another. And you know, it was like she took the words right out of my mind and said it out loud. That's exactly what I thought. Now, if you're one of my subscribers, you know that this is a theme that I've talked about before. The left versus right narrative, the constant culture wars, and just that Americans are tired of it. In fact, I've done a video on this topic a little bit more in depth. If you're interested, I'll link it here. But then I was listening to another interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she kind of echoed a lot of those same themes. And she pointed out something really interesting coming from an insider's perspective.
Hey, sorry to interrupt this video, but just to quickly say, if you want to dive deeper in these topics with me where I don't have to censor myself because of the algorithm in YouTube, head over to Substack and follow me there. That's the space where I can be a little bit freer with my views and my opinions. So if you're interested in that, follow the link in the description and subscribe to my Substack.
For being somebody who is willing to break down partisan lines, because that's extremely useful right now. If the Epstein documents don't show us that now, that partisan politics is a ruse, and you, as somebody who was a partisan loyalist, who is now willing to say, we're going to do better if we break down this binary, I feel like that's extremely useful. So I want to cheer you on for that.
Thank you. Yep. A lot would have to change in the system. I think the American people can fix it, though. I go back to that. And I see that as, it feels like a movement that's happening right now, where many people on the left and the right are just so tired of being divided. It's like, why do we have to hate each other? It's really horrible. It's destroyed families and relationships. I mean, even marriages. People have gotten divorced over this. Parents and adult kids stop talking to each other. Neighbors, coworkers, we're not supposed to hate each other, because I really truly feel like the key issues that affect all of us, like, for example, health insurance is too expensive. We're all worried about the future as far as jobs. I know for my kids' generation, just the cost of living, and are we going to be dragged into some foreign war that pulls us into World War III? Those are pretty common issues across the left and the right. And those should be the issues that our government should be working on. But, unfortunately, that's not the case. It's nonstop. It's an outrage machine, and it's intentionally built that way. They drive votes and donations based on fear and hate. And so they drive the left and the right to be afraid of the other side and to hate the other side, so they can drive donations and votes against the other. And I think a lot of Americans are really fed up with that. And they're fed up. They have outrage overload. It's just like, it's too much. I can't be angry and upset every single 20 minutes over something else. So I feel like there is some sort of movement of change happening, but it just hasn't peaked yet. But I think that it will.
So here's what I love about this. She says that she feels that there's a movement happening, and this is really what my channel is all about. So if you resonate with that, please hit subscribe and like this video and help get this perspective out to more people. So what's really great about what Marjorie Taylor Greene is pointing to here is something I think very real within the American public. So many of us have lost friends, or even just having so much unnecessary tension in our families because of politics. And it's actually quite uneasy when you consider there may be some design to stir us up into culture wars and to divide us. I mean, just as the quote goes, united we stand, divided we fall. It seems that we have more power when we're united, and warring with each other over something as silly as the Super Bowl halftime show just doesn't seem worth it to me. In fact, I almost wonder if Candace is right, and if there's actually some design behind having two Super Bowl halftime shows, quite literally dividing the country. Anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for sticking around. I hope you got some value out of this video, and if you did, can you hit like and subscribe, and maybe share it with someone you think might find it interesting? And otherwise, stick around because there's a lot more coming up.